Kia ora, I'm Keegan, also known as Velveteen Shakes. While in quarantine, I decided to do what every white man does at some point in their lives. Try to grow a beard and start a podcast. I roped my friend Cameron into producing for me and some interesting creative friends of mine into being guests. Here's the result. Welcome to the Velveteen Shakescast. Hello and welcome to the Velveteen Shakes podcast with Velveteen Shakes. I'm your host, Velveteen Shakes, and today's guest is a very special guest of New Zealand music. You know him from Koras and the modern Maori music Quartet. Ladies and gentlemen, Fran Kora.
Hey! G'day, bro.
How are you, bro?
I'm good, man. Good.
Thank you very much for, I'm not too bad. Thanks for taking the time out of your day. Appreciate it. So the idea behind this podcast, basically, and this is the first installment of it, is I thought it would be interesting while we're all locked up inside to have a yarn with people about the creative process and how quarantine's affected that. And I obviously thought of you first as the first person to talk to. You've got a pretty extensive history in the industry. So yeah, I'm keen to get right into it if you are.
Yeah, brother. Fire away, bro.
Sweet. So can you tell us a little bit about the history of Kora, sort of like since you guys formed as a band of brothers, quite literally, what your upbringing was like in terms of how it influenced you guys being creative?
Yeah, much like yourself, bro. My dad was, he was a driving force behind us playing music. But we started really young. I think the first show that myself, Stu, and Brad ever played was with my old man at the telethon. This is way beyond your years, bro. But what was I, 8 years old? And then from there, the old man has always had like just the local bands, bro, that would play at the pubs and the rugby clubs and RSAs, all the local area in the Eastern Bay plenty.
Yeah.
So we started playing with the old man and all those bars and places like that most weekends, Thursday to Friday till about 18. And we'd be in the RSA and Brad would have to hide behind the drums because he was too young. and I'd have to hide behind Dad's homemade blooming PA speakers. So yeah, those are the humble beginnings, bro, and started from there. And then just always played music, but yeah, it was always only ever covers. It wasn't until like the smoke-free RockQuest days that you'd have to start writing originals. But before that, it was all covers, you know. So that was the foundation of.
I think I was about the same, actually.
Yeah. So those are the that's the foundation anyway of how the boys got into music. I started playing music was through my old man.
So did you guys get together for Smoke Free RockQuest as Kora?
No, it was I was younger then. I was an intermediate, but my oldest brother Lawton and Brad was on the drums at the time. They won Smoke Free RockQuest in 1991 as a band called Auntie Beatrice.
Oh yeah.
And then Auntie Beatrice went on and they carried on playing for many years and then stopped playing and geez, what would it have been? Probably the late 90s. I think they would have stopped playing. But we didn't really take music too seriously until I left Whakatane and moved down to Wellington. And how Kora formed is I was studying at the drama school in Wellington and my older brother Lawton, he was coming up the next year to study drama, and we were at the same school, and we just started doing little gigs at cafes and stuff just to make some extra money while we were studying. And Loop Recording came along and saw it and said, "Hey man, you guys are keen to do something," and we signed a little deal with them to release some stuff. And the first release was Politician, and from Politician, we pulled in Stewie and Brad, and our other bro Dan down in Queenstown. And the rest is history, yeah.
The rest is history, as they say. Yes, I think for the longest while, I didn't realize Politician was sort of your guys' first song because my first introduction to Kora was the debut album when I was a kid. That's like one of my earliest musical memories, like listening to the full album just in the car all the time. So I didn't realize that Politician actually came before that.
Yeah. That was there was another release before that called Barely Can See, and it had it was Lorden and Dan wrote the song because Lorden was living down in Queenstown with Dan, and then they started writing music before he moved up to Wellington.
Yeah.
And they recorded a track with Leilu, I think is her name, and she's from Africa somewhere. It's a song called Barely Can See, and that's the very first track that Dan and Lorde had released and recorded under Quartet, and that was released on loop. And
interesting.
Then, yeah, so that's around somewhere, and yeah, the production.
Might have to go find it, eh?
Yeah, the production's not that good, eh, compared to
the latest stuff.
Still kind of, yeah, you kind of learn the ropes as you go along and get better at recording and making the stuff.
Yeah, sweet. So what do you think made you guys stand out from other bands when you dropped Politician and the first album? Because that was when you guys sort of started blowing up.
Oh, I think it was probably just there was no fear. You just like, it was experimental, and we just didn't care. We didn't think about charts or trying to make music to get played on radio.
Yeah,
just we're like, and because we'd been jamming together for years as kids, it was just like, you're young and you're just like, I don't care about the radio. You just like make crazy stuff, and that was that's how it all started.
You guys must have had a pretty tight chemistry as a band, having been playing, A, because you're brothers, but B, because you'd been playing together since you were so young.
Yeah. It's interesting now though, and even then, even while we were playing, it's quite clear that everyone's influences. We're all into everything, from rock to metal to W stuff and electronic music, but it's really clear now when you see the boys and if they were to make their own solo album, that would sound very different. All 4 albums would sound different. They'd sound different, but have the same similar feel. I don't know if that makes sense.
I know what you mean, because in recent years you've started being the lead vocalist for Kora when you were originally the bass player and Lawton was the lead singer, and you open your mouth and it's just that distinctive Kora voice. And so I think you're right. It would they would probably do stylistically very different things, but they'd all be unified by that sort of that Kora sound.
Yeah, and it's really clear now, like what everyone's kind of individual artistic voices.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of just comes with age and just going through the rinser and beating your head against the wall until you're comfortable with your own artistic voice. That's the biggest challenge, really.
Yeah, exactly. It takes a while to sort of get a handle on what your sort of artistic identity is. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the first album again with the cover art, because I remember listening to the album as a kid and looking at the cover art and thinking, yeah, that's very appropriate. It's got the same feeling as the music. For those who don't know, the cover art is like this ninja dude with doing like the Super Saiyan stuff with all this like elemental debris around him. It's very like comic book anime. And so I wanted to ask if that was something that sort of influenced you guys in any of your creative process.
Yep. Yep, that is definitely the main reason was anime, video games, and comic books at a younger age as well. Like, my uncles and stuff had a big collection of comic books, and so we kind of looked at it. But musically, it was probably one of the biggest influences. It was Final Fantasy VII, the original PlayStation 1 version. Yeah. The music in that is insane, man, and the storytelling in that game is pretty next level. So that was a massive influence. At the time, there was boys were still into Dragon Ball Z, and what else was there? Kung Fu movies. So a mixture of all of that. But above all of that stuff, the music within those animes and video games, they were epic.
Did you play the remake?
Yep, finished it. Finished the just during this lockdown. It's like
perfect timing. Yeah.
Yeah, and the music in it's unreal, man. Like there's a couple of new songs in there as well. It's like, oh, this ain't on the original. Excuse me, bro.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're getting close and personal with Fran Kora.
But yeah, incredible. Like that's my favorite game of all time.
Mate.
And I was blown away by it. It's just it's moving and it's cinematic, but the music in it is like, whoa.
Because that's the kind of feeling I got from the music, and in conjunction with the artwork. Like, it's really huge and grandiose and cinematic. Yeah. I mean, especially you have the album opens with like an orchestral piece of music before it goes into burning, and it's like, whoa, basically.
Yeah.
My internet connection is unstable, apparently.
Mine's probably the same, bro.
Yeah, we're sweet.
But it's funny too, because Richie is probably a massive Richie Allen, who's in the band. He's probably a massive influence on us as well, because he's a Final Fantasy freak. He's got Final Fantasy 7 on one forearm and Final Fantasy 8 tattooed on the other forearm. So he composed and wrote the orchestral stuff for us.
Oh, man.
And if you don't know Richie Allen, he's the front man for Heavy Metal Ninjas.
Yeah.
Which is the guitar virtuoso band. So there you go.
And he jams with you guys, eh?
Yeah, he's on the guitar and the bass. Yeah. He was our sound man.
I remember
he was our sound man for
years. At Hone Waititi.
Yeah.
And his guitar was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. Yeah, it's a pretty monster sound, eh?
Pretty huge sound, yeah. So that actually leads kind of nicely into the next thing I wanted to touch on, which was, so obviously you started out as an all brothers band, and then sort of throughout the years, the lineups changed. So I wanted to ask you about the difference between the creative process when it was you guys as a band of brothers, versus how Kora today, or even in the Light Years album, how the creative process was sort of changed or influenced by the different lineups?
Yeah, that's a big question.
Yeah, sorry.
No. It's a good question, though. The creative process for Light Years and for even now, it's probably more. It hasn't changed that much. Just the technology's gotten better, but it's tricky to get us together and jam in the same room, just simply because everyone lives all over the country.
Yeah, and you're all very busy people as well.
Yeah, and everyone, you kind of hit an age, and everyone has their own side projects that they do as well. So Dan's in Shapeshifter, Richie's got his project, Heavy Metal Ninjas, and he's also the sound man for LAB. And then
they're doing really. LAB are doing really badly at the moment, so he won't be busy with them, eh?
Nah, not busy at all. And of course, Stewie and Brad are in LAB, and Lordy's doing all his projects. So it's tricky, you know. And so the easiest way was just to get other band members so that the other boys could just flourish and do all their projects and do them well.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of focus on the projects that they've been focusing on. So that actually leads me to another project of yours, the Modern Maori Quartet, which is the other group you're most known for. So how did that come about?
James Tito came up with the idea. He's the original member, and it came up because we all graduated from New Zealand Drama School in Wellington, and at the time, you know, we're brown skin Maori, so the roles that were, this was probably would have been mid 2000s. There weren't many brown roles on television.
Yeah,
lots of theatre and stuff. So instead of waiting for an audition or a phone call from the agents, we'd be at parties, and all the boys would be at parties. A guitar would come out, and then they'd just start singing. So he goes, "Oh, well, we might as well make something out of this. We're always at the parties doing it. Instead of waiting for a phone call, let's make some money."
May as well.
Yeah. And then they made a theatre show called Ngā Brau E Whā, and that theatre show I just helped to record the audio and to do the soundscape audio at the time. So I got to record Carol Hirschfeld, who was she was the voice of God in the play, and other bits and bobs. And I loved the show, bro. It was an amazing piece of theatre. It was just really profound. The story was pretty amazing. And then luckily enough for me, one of the members left. He got accepted into the Lion King.
Oh.
So he went over to Australia, and I stepped in his place, and that's how I joined the boys. And,
very nice.
Basically a Billy T. James, Prince Tutika show on stage, but in suits.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I was just about to ask how it sort of differs from playing with Kora.
Yeah, the big difference is definitely the sound. But this is what I didn't realize as well, as I was talking to my dad, and I was like, well, this is actually the foundation, the true foundation of what I grew up with, the old man, is the what the quartet do, because we play at RSAs, and the old man would just be bussing out all these subtle jokes like, "Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you all now to make a nice big square circle, and 1, 2, 3, you know." So all the all the jokes and all the humours come from playing with the old man and going.
Yeah, that's sounding really familiar to me from my dad.
yeah, exactly. You know, BJ's the same, but and it's just, and then you join the quartet boys and go, far out. This is my upbringing, you know. And it's hard case, no show's ever the same. You just got hecklers, and you just give it right back to them, and it's crack up, bro.
That's the best bit about hecklers, isn't it? You're just giving it back.
Yeah, just throw it right back, man. But it's really cool too. It's like the craft of what we learn at drama school anyway. We get to practice it, but you also get to you show the fun side of Māori, because we're hilarious, and there's just so much bloody once we're warriors cliches out there and depressing stories, but we're the funniest, man. So it's it's nice to be part of something which puts us in a positive light. Yeah,
that's awesome, man. Yeah, because I didn't realize you actually went to drama school. So I was gonna ask, like, did the Modern Māori Quartet influence your decision to get into acting? But no, you've clearly been doing it for ages.
Yeah.
So it's sort of that marriage of your musical and your drama side. Oh, sorry, I hit my pop guard. So how do your creative processes with stuff like music and drama sort of differ from each other, if at all?
No, they don't. I use what I learned from drama school to, especially for performance, for the live performances, all the skills from what I learned at drama school, that's totally what you see on stage is what I've learned from drama school. And all that is just how you project your energy and how you communicate with an audience. That's never changes. As a performer or as a storyteller on the theatre stage or on film, it just remains the same. Your job is to either tell the story or connect with an audience. But the process of writing music, it changes all the time.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
It depends on what mood I'm in. You might not have the opportunity to jam with other people, so you might just be by yourself in the space here, you know. And
yeah, especially at the
for
moment.
me, yeah, it's not as much fun jamming by yourself. Just me personally, I can do it, but I think the magic is where you're communicating with others.
Yeah, I
in the
agree.
room, and you jam with other people because that's where the human element is the communication between sound or even visually or the energy within the room. So
I think that's the like as much as I really adore artists like Prince and D'Angelo, who sort of had this mindset of doing everything themselves and sort of being in control of the finished product. I really think that the collaborative nature of music is what sort of makes it special.
Yeah, well, the difference is when you're recording, I listen to music completely in a different way. You know, many probably listen to it the same way, but I can immediately hear something that got an energy within the room or an energy that's been captured. And that's the true magic, man, is if you can capture the energy that was in the room and you can feel it, you can hear it, it's real easy to pick up. And then you can hear production that's like, oh, yeah, that's just someone in a room that's put a bunch of auto-tune and corrected the pitch. It just doesn't have the same life. It doesn't, well, I suppose, you know, I just listen to music forever and ever, and it's really clear to see which music has been recorded that way.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's subjective, you know. Some people might like mumble rap and go, oh, this is so good. I just go, that sounds good, but it sounds like ego to me.
So we can't expect a mumble rap Kora album in the future?
Oh, probably not. I mean, I'm not against mumble rap. I just think they ain't got nothing to say, bro.
Well, yeah, I think it would be very hard to decipher what you had to say if you did have any mumble rap.
Oh, it goes from like peanut butter to gold chain to that. It just makes no sense to me. Yeah, a lot of the stuff I've heard, I'm just like, what the hell? He's got nothing to say. But, you know, kids think it's cool, so go figure.
Go figure. Yeah, I guess sometimes people just need a good beat and all that, but like you said, it's totally subjective.
Yeah.
So I wanted to touch back on some of your acting work, because you were in the film The Par Boys, and I actually just saw a mutual mate of ours, Jesse, shout out Moranga, put a video of you singing a song from that up. So, someone wanted me to ask how your co-star Matariki's toes tasted.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, like jam, bro. Like jam. That's like jam.
There's a scene where you take a bite of his toe.
Yeah, no, it was all good. No, he's got clean toes. He maintains his hygiene quite well, old Rick. But
it's good to know.
Yeah, yeah. No, that was a life changer, man. That film, that's a mean film.
Yeah. And so, did you Did you draw? Obviously, I feel like it's a given that you drew on personal experience for that film, which is about these guys forming a band and making it big, or trying to make it big.
Yeah, no, it was totally. We're lucky, man. He knew who we wanted to cast in the film, but he still had to go. The director of the film and the writer who made the whole thing.
Yeah.
He knew who he wanted in the film, but he still had to go through an audition process. Anyway, he ended up with the people he wanted in the film. And he wrote the roles based around us, which is it was pretty special, man. But just so you could get to the heart of the story, and pretty lucky to have that opportunity. You know, people don't write roles for you.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm not an actor, but I think that would be the ideal way to go about it.
Yeah.
So back to Kora. What is next? We've talked a bit about the past. I want to talk about the future of Kora because I know you've been writing some songs. I've heard you guys play a new tune at Hone Waititi, and it is like you said, the influences are a little different. So talk me through your creative process behind that at the moment, and just what's next for Kora.
Yeah, that's good, man. We've just been writing, and also just kind of seeing where the industry's at, and it's constantly changing. And what's tricky is, well, it's not really tricky. It's just that I'm not a big fan of social media, but that's where you have to be good nowadays, is how you push your stuff out, the style in which you do it, or the plan of attack of how you do it. That's probably more important nowadays than you can write the greatest songs in the world, but if you roll it out wrong, no one will hear it and it'll miss its opportunity, you know?
That's definitely been the biggest learning curve for me. Has been just sort of navigating how strategic you have to be about that.
Yeah. And it could be something really simple or just how you connect with the people. I've got no idea, bro, what that plan or what that strategy is. Some things work where you could just have like inviting people so they feel like they're a part of your process while you make your stuff. Other things, people want the glitz and glamour. You know, they want it to be all woo-ha, and that works. But I'm very unsure of where and how to roll it out. Trying to think of like cool little simple clever things to do.
Yeah.
But still trying to work that out. But that's a big. Oh.
We good?
I think it had a time limit or something. Is it still recording?
It's still recording, yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay. In terms of everything else, just stick to your guns, man, and make some stuff. And I think I've fallen into the trap of like wanting the music to be commercial or like at least heard in a commercial way. Because you're competing against the world is connected now on YouTube. So the reality is we're competing against Beyonce.
Oh, I don't like it when you put it like that.
No, but that's the reality, you know. Because
for sure.
We can release our stuff locally, but people have access to listen to the Beyoncés. So at the end of the day, that's what competing against.
Yeah.
And I've stopped worrying about that and just going, hey, I was never like that before. Why should I give a shit about it now? So you just charge ahead with your own voice, and that's the main thing. But in terms of the process of how the music is made, we're having to make music by ourselves, myself and Dan. I'll just like write a beat, and I'll be writing with your bro as well, and just, hey, bro, check this thing out, and he'll chuck a little guitar line on it. I'll get back, throw it in the session, and WeTransfer has been the savior because Dan lives down in
wonderful
Queenstown.
website.
Yeah. Dan lives down in Queenstown. I go, bro, I got this idea. We transfer it to him. He'll go, oh, how about this? Back to me, backwards and forwards all the time.
Yeah.
Until we find a happy place. And then we'll try and finish the song, the structure, see if we're happy with it. There might be a really strong demo. And then once the thing is lifted, then we'll go into the studio and record drums. But everything else we can do at home.
Yeah, that's what I've found, even with the way I've been doing it with Dave, is just recording. We'd have a Zoom meeting, and I can share my screen with him where I've got my Logic session and everything. I just record vocals through this. I've got a little interface to record vocals and instruments and stuff, and yeah, it works a charm. But I think something else I wanted to touch on was because of the whole pandemic situation at the moment, I feel like distribution of music is sort of a little uncertain as well, which could kind of influence how you want to release music.
Yeah,
it's definitely something I've been thinking about.
Yeah, it's all put on hold at the moment. And this might not be true, but what I have noticed is from there's a few releases that have dropped, and my feel is like people aren't invested in it at the moment during the lockdown because they're too worried about being locked at home and doing the thing, hey?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of tracks that have been released and they haven't flown at all because now is not the time for people to invest in music. And then at the same time, there's another track like the Stay track that hit #1 and that got into 1.5 million in the first couple of days, viewers. And that's done really well just because of the message of the time.
Yeah.
But where people are trying to push their music out because they're like, oh, everyone's going to be at home. It hasn't flown, bro. I don't think it's
I think you
well.
definitely still need to be strategic about it, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that it's not sort of flying as much because I feel like on lockdown, for me personally, it's sort of been indulging in entertainment content, whether it be music, TV, film, etc. That's been sort of a real saving grace. So I would have thought that people would be more receptive to music being released at the moment.
That's what I would have thought too, but I'm not sure if it has.
And there's also physical releases to consider as well.
Yeah, and just simply because there's so much content out there, like Netflix, Amazon Prime, just movie-wise, and then you've got in the music, you got the people are doing lots of live shows online.
Yeah.
They're engaged for a little bit, but I think people are just wanting entertainment to pass the time through this lockdown.
For sure.
Not necessarily engaged to, want to buy a song.
Yeah.
I think everyone's minds are just a bit worried about what should be going on in your own house.
Yeah,
I'm not
they're a bit occupied.
Yeah.
So back to the music that you've been making at the moment. From what I've heard, I've noticed more of sort of I would say there's always been a groove to Kora, but more of a R&B type groove feel and some neo soul influence as well. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah. I've always loved neo soul and R&B and soul and stuff. But I've always loved dancehall, bro. But dancehall is the thing that I really enjoy. But you get a bit older and it's this is what's fun. It's like less is more.
Yeah.
So back in the day, we used to add all these effects and layers a billion things on top of themselves. But now it's you can make it sound. That's a trick. You make it sound real fat if there's less going on in recording.
Yeah.
And it's just a simpler journey to follow. So dancehall has always done that. So I've got even if it's an R&B track, I'll always have this little dancehall bounce in it.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm noticing more. That's probably more my style. I like they're just a bit more bouncier. Just because I like to bounce around and have a boogie, you know.
Yeah, man, for sure.
I still like the rock and stuff, but yeah, with the changing of players and stuff like that, I'm just kind of writing to just writing heaps of different stuff.
Yeah.
I tend to find that I'm coming back to this dancehall boogie and bounce is all.
Well, yeah, I think from what I've heard, I think people are really going to like it. I think they'll it feels very sort of very Kiwi and very like groovable, if that makes sense. I couldn't find another word.
Still try and add in some little spices here and there that are just, I don't know. But,
yeah, like
interesting
it's really catchy. You can dance to it. It's really good songwriting.
Oh, cheers, brother.
Oh, you're welcome.
There's a few more coming. Once this is lifted, we'll start pushing all the songs out, which would be cool.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. We need to defeat COVID-19 so that we can get new Kora music. And also so that I can go outside.
and I can go to the gym and lose some weight, bro.
Oh, you must be fiending for a surf.
Oh, yeah, no, it can go out now. It's just a bit too small.
Yeah.
Well, where I am in Papamore, it's small. West Coast is pumping, but not allowed to go there yet. Damn.
Not yet. Unlucky. Well, yeah, I think that's just about everything I wanted to talk about with you, bro.
Cool, yes.
I feel obliged to do the old the typical parting question that you've probably been asked a bunch of times, which is any advice you have for young artists like myself who are trying to make it big in this crazy world.
Yeah, the bunch of things. What would I say? I reckon just stick to your own voice, like your own creative voice, and not worry about trying to, keep up with the Joneses, because that's you can hear that when someone, what do they call it, biters. When someone's like, "Oh, that's hot," they'll just copy their sound, and that's a dangerous thing. I reckon that's really dangerous because the deeper you go into that world, you lose your voice, and you lost the whole thing. Apart from that, just enjoy it. Have as much fun as you can. You'll come to hard times where you beat your head against the wall and go, "Oh!" But yeah, just do you, man. Do you. Do good storytelling.
Awesome. Thank you, bro. All right. Take care.
Cheers, brother. Have a good one.